The Mesa Chamber of Commerce Inside Business Podcast brings you a unique view of Mesa through its vibrant business community and the subjects that are important. The podcast is produced in the Mesa Chamber of Commerce Media Studio, sponsored by the University of Phoenix. Our podcast is hosted by Mesa Chamber of Commerce CEO Sally Harrison. Please enjoy this episode of the Mesa Chamber Inside Business Podcast.
Hi, I'm Sally Harrison, President and CEO at the Mesa Chamber of Commerce. And today I have my friend Jason Reed from United Food Bank here with me.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Sally.
No, I'm so excited that you're here. Obviously, I have a little history with the food bank.
Yes.
I was honored to be on the board for 6 years. And when I termed out, I promised I would never go too far.
Okay.
You guys have a great mission, so we're here to talk about that.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about United Food Bank, its mission, and the work that you guys do in our community.
Yeah, so our mission at United Food Bank is to unite communities to alleviate hunger. We've actually been in Mesa for 40 years now.
It's incredible.
So this is our 40th anniversary. We've been headquartered in Mesa that entire time. Basically, we work closely with local churches, schools, and community partners across a 20,000 square mile area of Arizona. So not just Mesa.
Just a little footprint.
We go all the way up to the Apache, Navajo, Pinal, Gila counties too. So it's a lot, you know.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And we work with about 150 of those partners.
That's awesome.
And basically together we serve about 50,000 meals every single day.
That's incredible.
To support those who need it.
When I was on the board, I felt like I was also always in a geography class because somebody would inevitably talk about, Snowflake or all these different places, and I'm like, I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
And then I get schooled because of your outreach.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yes, it's really great.
Well, tell me a little bit about you. Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in Minnesota, which this time of year is your snow-covered tundra, of course,
Yes.
too. But I grew up in a classic, working class household. My mother, sort of mail for a big company. My father, inspected machine parts. So both had sort of high school equivalent degrees. But I had the fortune of growing up in a great community called Bloomington. So it's a suburb of Minneapolis.
Nice.
It was where I kind of most of my high school, maybe 90+% went to college. And
Very
so
cool.
and so that was really exciting. And it was something for me is like, just, if so many of my classmates were going, that's where I should go too. And so that's where I kind of began the journey there in Bloomington, and I went to the University of Minnesota from there. So
Very cool.
Yep.
Well, talk about your background.
Yep, absolutely. So I actually began after college, after the University of Minnesota, I went to New York City. So I went about as far away from anything I'd ever known previously.
Sure.
So I was fortunate to work for a big consulting firm out there. I worked with Fortune 500 companies that are in food and healthcare. So your Kraft Foods, your Pfizer's, your General Mills, those kinds of things.
Right.
So I got exposed a lot to marketing and strategy through that. But I always wanted to do nonprofit work. And so that was something that I wanted to move into at this point. I just didn't want to start there.
Yeah.
And so, I wanted to take the experience, my skills, the time that I wanted to invest into moving that. So 2010, I made that journey, basically, sort of moved myself from the corporate world to the nonprofit space.
Well.
And that was a really great switch for me.
And here you are.
Yes,
So what
that's
brought
right.
you specifically to United Food Bank, and how long have you been the CEO?
Yeah, so I've been the CEO of United Food Bank for the last 9 months, but my first job actually in 2010 was at a food bank, just a much larger one up in Minneapolis called Second Harvest Heartland. So I was there for 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Just doing different partnerships where we kind of bring together different sectors, your corporate sector, your government, and your nonprofits.
Right.
How do you bring these things together to create partnerships that actually advance the cause? So an example would be like we worked on something called Food RX, which is a food prescription business. So how do you connect food and healthcare together?
Yeah.
And so with us, it's like, a lot of people who have food insecurity, they have typically medical conditions associated with that. So a lot of them are diet related, they're food related.
Sure.
So like diabetes or heart disease. And so we figured out a way, like, well, if we can offer food prescriptions to those folks, does that improve their health? Does it lower the cost for the healthcare system? And does that advance our mission? And so with that, we were able to kind of bring those things together, and all those things work together. And then the healthcare system paid us for that too, which is really great. So kind of a triple win, that you have too. So so I guess when I worked at St. Vincent de Paul for the past 4 years, just doing some business and digital transformation during the pandemic. And so I joined United Food Bank 9 months ago, and I just wanted to get back into this world.
Very
and
cool.
excited to be part of it.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
So what does hunger look like in our community?
Yeah, so unfortunately, it's growing right now. Last year, the United Food Bank and its partners were seeing about 90,000 people every single month. Right now,
Wow.
this year, it's 120,000.
Oh my
so,
goodness.
so you just see how much has increased just year over year, just based on just the economy and inflation and a lot of other factors are kind of contributing to that. But for us, like that's a big growth.
That's huge.
In terms of how many people that need needs. So
Yeah.
so basically, like 1 in every 10 people is food insecure right now.
My
1 in every
goodness.
7 kids. And so for us, it's just important that we just work with our partners and just work with ways to make sure we can support these families, these seniors in their time of need.
So you said the economy, but maybe still coming out of the pandemic?
Yeah, that's part of it. I think the one message I always talk to people about is that hunger can happen to anyone. Often people are just one shock or emergency away from that. So just you get into a car accident or you have a medical emergency or I just lost my job. These things can happen to anybody.
Sure.
And for so many, it just tips them into a place where, they have to sort of prioritize what's most important. I got to keep a roof over my head or I got to do these other things. And food often gets restricted the
Sure.
most, when people go through those types of emergencies.
Yeah.
So.
It's tough when you have to decide to put gas in your car, food in your plate.
Yes, that's right. Are you choosing paying rent or paying for food? Yeah, or
Right.
paying your medical bill
Or
or paying for
daycare.
food.
Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Well, what's the United Food Bank doing to meet the growing need for the food issues in Mesa and beyond?
Yeah, so I think people remember a lot about just like especially at the start of the pandemic, there were these large lines of cars, huge lines of
Yes.
cars, to get food, not just
Yep.
here in Mesa, but, all over the country too. Those lines of cars are still there. They just look different than they did before. And so last month we did a food distribution here at the Mesa Convention Center. And so it was ahead of Thanksgiving, just a few days ahead of that. So we had lots of frozen turkeys, potatoes, corn. It's a really good event, very positive, very
Sure.
optimistic. But the lines of cars, there's still so many. We served 1,700 households that one day.
Oh my goodness.
And so, that must be more than 5,000 people, just on that one day. So,
Wow.
so those things are still there. And so we're just making sure we're present in those places. And then we're also working with a lot of partners, especially like our grocery store partners. So if you think of your local Walmarts, your Fry's Foods, many of your chamber members, I'm sure, they provide about 1 million pounds of food every single month right now. So
Wow.
they're really stepping up, to
Yeah.
support us, during this time as well. Too.
That's great.
Yes.
Well, share a little bit about your vision for the future of United Food Bank.
Yeah, so basically, so we've set a new direction for the organization where we're trying to create stability for anyone who's experiencing that need for food. So basically, it's a two-part strategy. One is called your Food for Today strategy, which is like how do we sort of meet the food needs of today so that you feel stable enough and that you have enough food so that you can focus on your needs for tomorrow. So the second part is your Food for Tomorrow. So that part is like where how can we wrap around someone to provide them more economic stability. So that might mean we can help them reconnect to the workforce, or we help them connect to access like the healthcare insurance, or we do other things that kind of create that stability. So a lot of it's more about economic security, so you don't have to come back to the food bank again,
Right.
perhaps for a long time. So
Okay.
so that's kind of part of like where our vision is heading as an organization.
That's important.
Yes.
Yeah. If any of our listeners encounter someone in our community who needs food, what should they do?
Yeah, so I think, so first of all, I think more immediately, like next week, we have another food distribution here at the Mesa Convention Center. So that's in
Yeah.
December.
I hear
So-
we're helping at that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we're grateful for your partnership, Sally,
it'd be fun.
for sure. So, so that one we'll also be doing more like frozen hams, along with a lot of other holiday items like potatoes, corn, eggs, milk, and other things too. So,
Nice.
so yeah, so if you're in need of some support or a hand, we'd be happy to help you then. But also, I think too, especially if you need some, if you find people who are in need of support, you can also visit our website. We have a find food function on our website where you can literally type in your zip code and then you can see your local partner that's closest to you, and then you can contact them and they'll be able to help you out as
So
well.
you listed off a bunch of different items that I think some people might be surprised, right? Because when you think of a food drive, you're not talking about perishable items, right?
Right.
So when somebody gets in line for food,
Yeah.
tell us about what that looks like, because it's not just canned items or boxed items.
Yeah, that's right. I think we always approach everything with dignity for any neighbor who might be experiencing that need, and what we provide, like more than half the food. So we do about 20 to 22 million pounds of food a year is what we distribute each year, and more than half of that is fresh food. So when we talk with like our grocery store partners, like they're actually providing like all this sort of fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, eggs, things like that. So when you go into any pantry or any support like that, it's not just your canned goods and your boxes, which we also have some of those too, and a lot of those are very healthy. But we also want to make sure we provide fresh food as well, to as much as we can, to many of our neighbors too.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
So how can the community and our chamber partners, how can we get involved with United Food Bank?
Yeah, so I'd offer a few different ways. Certainly, we do a lot of work with different businesses around the community too. So some of that is like sponsorship. So a couple of the chamber members, or a few of the chamber members, sponsored our Summer of a Million Meals campaign. So it's a campaign during the summer to provide food, especially for kids and families who need support during the summer, because the kids don't have the school lunch to rely on as often. So we have that great campaign. So folks like Meineke and Oregon Stop Pizza and other chamber members were great supporters of that. So they were sponsors of that, and they got to be featured on television and other things too. So we have those opportunities. We also have like cause opportunities, which means like they're more like transaction based. So as people like buy something at the register, a certain portion of that might come to the United Food Bank. So and that's we then reciprocally provide some marketing to our supporters for that too. So that way you're getting also the halo effect with our brand, but also we can help drive some traffic to your business as well. Third is like many are also just giving to us through checks and other things directly too, and so a lot of that is just based on employee engagement and retention. Like really just employees want to feel good about what the business they're supporting and they're employed at, and this helps them to create that stickiness with those employees too, which is great. And the last thing is volunteerism. We can't do our work without the help of volunteers. So we have a great volunteer center on Javelina Avenue next to the courthouse here in Mesa, and so we have lots of business groups who come with groups of 10, 20, 25 people, 50 sometimes, basically to do some packing for us. And so again, we can't do that without the support. So if you're interested in that, that's also something we can help you do as well.
So talk about the difference. I mean, it's great when people host a food drive, obviously.
Yes.
It's important. And it's great for exposure, just a learning opportunity, right? But talk about the importance of cash donations, because obviously you can shop more with my $10 than I can.
Yeah, that's right. So thank you for that. Yeah, I think one of the great things about a food bank is that one of its buying power. So one of the core jobs we do is like we bring in large quantities of food, sort it out, and then we get it out to neighbors who need it. So we're able, for every dollar that's donated to us, we're able to turn that into 5 meals. So
that's huge.
So that's kind of one of the great benefits to us too. So that's something that we kind of bring to the table. And then Arizona is also just a blessed place in general because we have a charitable tax credit here.
Right.
So either before the end of the year, before
it's that time.
Yes.
Okay, make your plea.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we certainly do that too. And so basically, if you're a single filer, you can donate up to $440 to a qualified charity like the United Food Bank, and you get that dollar for dollar back on your taxes. If you're a joint filer, it's $841 you can donate, and again, it takes it right off your state tax bill. So that's, again, Arizona's the only place that I know of in the country that offers something like that.
Yeah.
So we certainly welcome that support by donating to us at the unitedfoodbank.org website.
That's awesome. Okay, so to get a hold of you, unitedfoodbank.org.
Yes.
You're on social media everywhere. I know that.
Yep.
Who else can they reach out to?
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, basically, and you can also, those are probably the two main ways to get a hold of us is through our website, through our social media channels too. And you can also email us at info@unitedfoodbank.org.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so I know we're going to do this again in a few months.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing you again.
We're excited. So thanks so much,
Thank
Sally.
you.
We
Happy
appreciate it.
holidays.
Yes, to you too.
This has been a Mesa Chamber of Commerce Inside Business podcast. You can find all podcast episodes at iTunes, Spotify, or your own favorite podcast website. You can also find them online at mesachamber.org. Content of this podcast is copyright the Mesa Chamber of Commerce, unless otherwise noted.